Good morning, children. Today, let's continue chapter 2 of your English literature, the Cabuliwallah. So, now, children, please open chapter 1 and page number 4 of your English literature book. Children, yesterday we know that Minnie called Cabuliwallah, and she asked to Cabuliwallah, "Hey Cabuliwallah, what do you have in your bag?" And he would reply in a nasal accent of the mountaineer. He said, "An elephant." Means Kabliwala said, "I have an elephant in my bag." Not much cause for merriment, perhaps, but how they both enjoyed the fun. And for me, this child's talk with a grown up man had always in it something strangely fascinating. Means now Minnie's father was thinking that it is something strange because Manny was talking very carefully with Kabuliwala. And then the Kabuliwala, not be behind hand, would take his turn. "Well, little one, and when are you going to the father in law's house?" Means then the Kabuliwala was also not late to talk to that girl. And he asked, "Well, little one, and when are you going to the father in law's house?" Now, most small Bengali maidens have heard long ago about the father in law's house. What we, being a little newfangled, had kept these things from our child, and Minnie at this question must have been a trifle bewildered. But she would not show it, and with ready tact replied, "Are you going there?" Means now the narrator of the chapter is saying that now most small Bengali maidens, means that time most of the children know about father-in-law's house, have heard long ago about the father-in-law's house. But we, means he is saying to themselves, being a little newfangled, means a little modern, had kept these things from our child, and Minnie at this question must have been a trifle bewildered. Means she was surprised at this question when Kabuliwala asked, "When are you going to your father-in-law's house?" But she would not show it, and with ready tact replied. Now Minnie asked to Kabuliwala, "Are you going there?" Amongst men of the Kabuliwala's class, however, it is well known that the words father-in-law's house have a double meaning. It is, if you mean is for jail, the place where we are well cared for at no expense to ourselves. In this sense, would the sturdy peddler take my daughter's question? "Ah," he would say, shaking his fist at an invisible policeman, "I will thrash my father in law." Hearing this and picturing the poor discomfited relative, Minnie would go off into peals of laughter, in which her formidable friend would join. Means, children, now narrator is saying that the word father-in-law's house has double meaning. Means first meaning is that father-in-law's house, but the second meaning is that it is considered that father-in-law's house means in the sense a jail, means the prison where we all are cared for no expense. In this sense, would the sturdy peddler, means the physical strengthy peddler, take my daughter's questions? Ah, he would say, shaking his fist at an invisible policeman, "I will thrash my father in-law. I hearing this and picturing the poor discomfited relative. Now Minnie would go off into peals of laughter in which her formidable means her impressive friend would join. Now children, one morning a few days before he had made up his mind to go. I was correcting my proof sheets in my study. Means the narrator of the chapter is saying that one day a few days before he had made up his mind to go. He was correcting his proof sheets in his study table. It was chilly weather. All at once I heard an uproar in the street. Means he heard some noise in the street and looking out. And just then he looked out and saw Rahman being led away, wound between two policemen, and behind them a crowd of curious boys. Means two policemen were catching and they were taking Rahman. There were blood stains on the clothes of the Cabuliwallah, and one of the policemen carried a knife. Hurrying out, I stopped them and inquired what it all meant. Partly from one, partly from another, I gathered that a certain neighbor had owed the peddler something for a Rampuri shawl, but had falsely denied having bought it, and that in curse of the quarrel Rahman had struck him. Now, in the heat of his excitement, the prisoner began calling his enemy all sorts of names. And suddenly, in a veranda of my house appeared my little Minnie. Means that then Minnie also comes out in the veranda with her usual explanation, "Oh Cabuliwallah, oh Cabuliwallah." Rahman's face lighted up as he turned to her. He had no bag under his arm today, so she could not discuss the elephant with him. She at once, therefore, proceeded to the next question. Now she is going to ask some other question because that day there was no bag on his back. Now Minnie is asking, "Are you going to the father-in-law's house?" Rahman laughed and said, "Just where I am going, little one." Then, seeing that the reply did not amuse the child because he was going to jail and he did not answer properly, so that day Minnie was not amused on this answer. He held up his fettered hands. He said, "I would have thrashed that old father-in-law, but my hands are bound." On a charge of murderous assault, Rahman was sentenced to some years' imprisonment and he was sent to jail. Time passed and he was not remembered. The accustomed work in the accustomed place was ours, and the thought of the once free mountaineer spending his years in prison seldom or never occurred to us. Even my light-hearted Minnie, I am ashamed to say, forgot her old friend. Means because of being in jail, Minnie now had forgotten to Cabuliwallah. New companions filled her life. Years had passed. It was once more autumn, and we had made arrangements for our Minnie's marriage. Now Minnie is being old and not old. Minnie is going to be young, and his father was arranging his marriage. It was to take place during the puja holiday. The morning was bright. Since early dawn that day, the wedding pipes had been sounding, and at each beat my own heart throbbed. The wail of the tune, Bhairavi, seemed to intensify my pain at the approaching separation. My Minnie was to be married that night. Means that day there was marriage of Minnie and every arrangement was being done. Morning was very bright, and since early dawn that day the wedding pipes also was being sounding, and at each beat the heart of her father throbbed. The bell of the tune Bhairavi. Children, you know Bhairavi is a tune, is a rag in Hindi. Seemed to intensify my pain at the approaching separation. Means seemed to be intensified his pain at the approaching separation. Why? My Minnie was to be married that night. Now the narrator is saying that the girl Minnie, his daughter was going to separate from him. From early morning, noise and bustle had pervaded the house. In the courtyard, the canopy had to be slung on its bamboo poles. The candles, with their tinkling sound, must be hung in each room and veranda. There was no end of hurry and excitement. I was sitting in my study looking through the accounts when someone entered, saluting respectfully and stood before me. Now, the narrator is saying that everyone was enjoying that day, and Mary, Minnie was going to be married that day. And in the courtyard, there was canopy to be slung and on its bamboo poles, and the candles with their tinkling sounds was also hanging in each room and veranda. There was no end of hurry and excitement that day. I was sitting in my study. Means now the narrator is saying that he was sitting in his study room and looking through the accounts when someone entered. Means suddenly someone entered in the house and saluting respectfully and stood before him. It was Rahman. Means it was Kabuliwallah. At first, I did not recognize him. Means the narrator is saying that first of all, he did not recognize him. He had no bag, nor the long hair, nor the same vigor that he used to have. Means now Kabuliwallah had changed his expressions of face and everything. He had changed his uh, look, he had changed his hairstyle, and he was not same as just last, and he has changed his vigor also that he used to have. But he smiled and I knew him again. Means after some time Kabuliwallah was recognized by Minnie's father. Now he is asking that when did you come, Rahman? I asked. Means the narrator is asking, when did you come? Now he is saying that last evening, he said, I was released from jail. Now Kabuliwallah is saying that last evening, I was released from jail. The words struck harsh upon my ears. I had never before talked with one who had wounded his fellow, and my heart shrank within itself when I realized. For I felt that the day would have been better omened had he not turned up. There are ceremonies going on, I said, and I am busy. Could you perhaps come another day? At once he turned to go, but as he reached the door, he hesitated and said, may I not see the little one, sir, for a moment? Means now Kabuliwallah is saying that, sir, may I see Minnie? Means he wants to meet Minnie now. It was his belief that Minnie was still the same. Now he was thinking that Minnie is still the same. She is a child. But now Minnie is going to be young, and she is going to be married. In fact, in memory of former days, he had brought carefully wrapped up in a paper a few almonds and raisins and grapes obtained somehow from a countryman. Means when he had come to Minnie's house, when Kabuliwallah had come to Minnie's house, he brought few almonds and raisins and grapes obtained from a countryman. And now Minnie's father said again, there is a ceremony in the house and you will not be able to see anyone today. Now he is saying that, Kabuliwala, now today Minnie is going to be married and it is the day of marriage. And so will you come any another day, because you cannot meet anyone today. The man's face fell. He looked wistful at me for a moment, then said, good morning, and went out.